There is a hill in Jordan where the pottery melted. Not cracked. Not burned. Melted. Like glass in a furnace. Beneath it lies the largest Bronze Age city in the region, destroyed so completely that no one lived there for 700 years. Some scientists claimed a space rock exploded above it. Their study went viral, then collapsed. The truth is stranger and older. Because this hill sits exactly where an ancient text places a city whose name became a byword for destruction itself. Sodom. This is the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, told alongside what archaeology actually knows about of the world where it happened. To understand what died on that plain, you first have to understand what lived there. And what lived there was astonishing. 4,000 years ago, the southern Jordan Valley was no wasteland. Genesis calls it well-watered, like the garden of the Lord. Genesis says Lot chose it for exactly that reason. So what kind of city rose from that garden? Let's walk inside its walls. The site is called el-Hammam. At its peak, it covered roughly 90 acres, about 10 times the size of Jerusalem back then. Its defenses were monumental. Mudbrick ramparts on stone foundations, 4 meters thick. Sloped walls climbing 10 stories above the plain. Inside stood a palace complex, temples and multi-story homes, stone foundations, mud-brick walls, every interior surface smoothed with white plaster. Ordinary families lived close together. Flat roofs doubled as workspace and summer bedrooms. Courtyards held ovens, looms, and grinding stones. Dinner was bread, lentils, olives, figs, dates, and pomegranates. Meat was saved for feasts and honored guests. Remember that detail. Meat for honored guests. In this world, how you treated a guest defined exactly who you were. People wore wool. Egyptian tomb paintings show Canaanite traders in richly patterned tunics. Women's robes pinned at the shoulder with bronze toggle pin. The region was famous for its textiles, patterned, colored cloth, including purple wool dyed from sea snails. This was no backwater. It was a wealthy, fortified civilization at its height, the Middle Bronze Age. According to Genesis, into this world of wealth and walls, 2 strangers walked at sundown. Genesis 19 opens with one line of pure Bronze Age reality. Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city at evening. A city gate was not just a door. It was the courthouse, marketplace, and city hall, where elders judged disputes and sealed contracts. Excavations across the region have uncovered exactly these gates, monumental chambered entrances with stone benches where the city's business was done. So Lot, the outsider from Abraham's family, is sitting where leaders sit. He has made it in Sodom. 2 travelers approach. Lot rises, bows to the ground, and begs them to spend the night under his roof. To modern ears, that is politeness. In the Bronze Age, it was sacred law. No hotels, no police. A traveler at nightfall lived or died by hospitality. Taking strangers in meant feeding them, washing their feet, and protecting them absolutely. Lot does it all. He prepares a feast with fresh-baked bread, the honored guest treatment his world reserved for its most important visitor. But the text says the men of the city surrounded the house. Every man, young and old, from every quarter. What happens next made Sodom infamous for 4,000 years. And it is probably not quite the story you think you know. The mob demands Lot hand over his guests. In that culture, this was the ultimate crime. Violence against protected strangers under a roof. Centuries later, the prophet Ezekiel named Sodom's sin directly: arrogance, gluttony, and comfort, while the poor and needy suffered outside her door. A rich, well-fed city that turned its strength against the vulnerable. That is the charge the text makes. Lot's response horrifies modern readers. He offers his own daughters. The ancient hospitality code valued a guest's safety above nearly everything. The strangers reveal themselves. They strike the mob blind and deliver a message. This city is finished. Leave before dawn. Lot hesitates. At sunrise, the visitors physically drag his family out by the hand. The text says, "The Lord was merciful." The instruction was absolute. Flee to the mountains, stop nowhere, and do not look back. Then it comes. Burning sulfur rains from the sky. Cities, plain, vegetation, every inhabitant, erased in a single morning. Lot's wife looks back and becomes a pillar of salt, standing forever above a sea so salty nothing lives in it. A haunting ending. But here is the question this channel exists to ask. Did any of this actually happen? Return to that hill in Jordan. In 2005, excavators began digging el-Hammam and found a nightmare, frozen in dirt. A destruction layer over a meter thick, churned ash, shattered mud brick, and pottery turned to glass. Melting clay into glass takes temperatures far beyond any cooking fire, and beyond most ordinary house fires too. In 2021, a team of scientists published a stunning claim. A cosmic airburst, like Tunguska, exploded above the city. A rock from space detonating in mid-air, they argued, explained the melted pottery, the ash, and the sudden death of a city. The paper went massively viral. Headlines announced that science had found Sodom. But other scientists started checking the work. They found problems. Radiocarbon dates forced to fit one event, disputed mineral evidence, even improperly edited images in the paper itself. In April 2025, the journal formally retracted the study. The meteor theory of Sodom is, for now, officially unproven. Here is what remains true without it. The city was real, enormous, violently destroyed around 1650 BC, then abandoned. For 700 years afterward, almost nobody lived on that plain. Something happened there. We do not know what. And el-Hammam is not the only candidate. Older excavations at edh-Dhra, south of the Dead Sea, found another burned city. 2 ruined cities, 2 camps of scholars, 1 ancient story. The debate over which, if either, is Sodom, is still alive. So where does that leave the story? Exactly where the best history often lives, between the text and the trench. The Bible's gates by near age rules, elders, hospitality law, walled wealth. Whoever first told this story knew that world intimately. The details are not decoration. They are the world as it was. And the moral charge still lands. A civilization judged not for weakness, but for what it did with its abundance. Ezekiel's verdict echoes across the ruins either way, proud, overfed, and unconcerned, while the poor stood outside the gate. The pottery in that Jordanian hillside cannot tell us why the city died, but it proves how completely a world can end. Next time, before the fire, there was the flood, and a forbidden book that claims to explain why. If walking through history inside these stories is your kind of journey, subscribe. The past has more to say. See you there.